All right, we are discussing about the difference between um, different ways in which we react and learn in a conversation. What we prefer, what is better for people, and how it affects others.
So one of the things that we had thought about was what kind of ways we used outlets. One of the questions was, do we like pondering the question first, or do we like it in the spur of the moment? So for me, I like going both ways, but that's just because a natural part of me is that I have the tendency to be able to answer questions. More difficult ones, yes, maybe I would want time to think about it, but in a spur of the moment type of answer, for me, an answer like that in a more difficult question can easily just as well be I don't know. And that's just my personality to accept that I don't necessarily know, but I would love to learn.
For me, it's easier for me to react to something. If I hear something and be able to respond to it with my own point of view, understanding their weak points and their arguments, and being able to see it their way and be able to point out everything that's wrong with it, it's easier for me. I'm able to um, poke holes into their argument to a point in which it falls apart. Or, for example, when I'm in a group discussion or something, it's easier for me to support their answers with facts and theories of my own.
Well, one of the things that gets, especially in types of debate, especially in our type of society that we live in, where it's mostly leaning on it's either this side or this side. So when I would do my junior argumentative thesis, or when I did my senior argumentative thesis, whenever I do almost any argumentative thesis, I go right down the middle and I tell them why both of them are wrong and why I'm right. And I've actually done fairly well in my writing and in my speeches by taking a completely different point of view and giving the best of both.
That is a good skill and definitely needed, and there's always good on both sides. The problem with it, though, is when we're trying to mold someone
According to someone's dictates of conscience.
dictates of conscience. Exactly. Being able to help someone find out what they want. Because sometimes it's not what they believe, it matters what you believe. They want to become you. So it's much easier in a situation when you can tell them your point of view.
And I think that there are definitely appropriate times for that. Like for specific topics, especially in a gospel sense. We there are black and white sections, and there's many places that are like that. And then there are other places where that's kind of the nice thing about agency that God has given us, is that there are some places that we have the right to dictate how we want to live that law.
Everything in this world is black and white. Only people are gray.
That's actually a good point of view. I think where we look at things, so for example, God teaches it's not meet that I should command men in all things. I don't necessarily need to have this black and white choice between should I have this type of breakfast for this hour or should I go with something completely different. Those are choices in our lives that don't require, I mean, we could just as obviously go with the difference between why I would choose cereal over bacon and eggs or vice versa. But the choice of the matter is the more black and white choice, if I was to look at it, is am I going to eat breakfast or not? The gray part of that question is what am I going to eat?
It's true. You were talking about the different breakfasts and making that choice and everything. There was a man in which had part of his brain, the emotional part of his brain, removed, leaving only logic, only pure logic. And he could never make a decision ever. Because how we make decisions is through emotion, is how we feel about a point, and what we can bring up and to inspire others.
Well, and the best decisions are made when you use all of I can't remember if it was Aristotle or if it was another Greek philosopher, but it was the 3 points of rhetorical analysis. When you use the ethos, the pathos, and the logos. Most people only tend to stick to one or maybe two specific ones, and that goes back and forth between parties based on personal beliefs and based off of
Well,
personal philosophies.
on top of that, what they understand best. Some people understand logic much easier than they understand emotions. Emotions,
Whereas some people don't want to understand either of those. They want to see someone who's credible enough to give that kind of opinion.
the sheep, as it were. So, in education, in learning, and in everything, we need to find out how we best understand and communicate to others. And that's the point of this. It's to help them. Hope you all enjoy it. Bye.